The year is 1970, and Chicago got themselves a song called 250624. Down, 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 down. Down, 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 down. Down, 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 down. Down, 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 down. Yeah, much better than that, of course. Yeah, that's what's going on today. It's Tuesday, analyzing the lyric, and we're going to analyze Chicago's 250624 and look at what was taking place there in the hippie mind of the long-haired gnomes wandering the earth in a rebellious way. It was a suggestion suggested to us, put in the queue, and you know what? I've always liked that song. I've not always listened to Chicago per se. Yeah, it was on the radio, and you could hear it there, and in various other locations that you might have perused in the 70s. But it wasn't my cup of tea, if you will. During my youth and rebellion, I was a bit heavier than what Chicago could offer. However, in my later years, perhaps my late teens or early adulthood, and having, of course, gone off the deep end there in the extremities of life and the excess that is available at the world's disposal. After a while, you're like, hey, dude, this is like Chicago's good, man. Like they've got a good. They're talented. Number one, I could identify that. I mean, they're talented. They can write this kind of stuff and put it all together with all the musical instruments. So they're well woven and orchestrated in this wonderful musical atmosphere. They're good at what they do. Okay, yeah, I can do that. But the sound that they were producing and the vocal and the lyric and everything, I found myself just being like, oh, I got to get more of this stuff. I mean, what have I been missing? Well, a whole deal. Chicago's got a wonderful um, catalog of some of the most memorable songs, really. And they captivate each era. They are what I call shelf life music. There is no expiration date. Every generation is going to purchase a Chicago song. Just what it is. And every, up and coming band who's going to seek to emulate certain things is going to take some vibes from Chicago, going to play some Chicago, going to cover some Chicago. To a lesser degree, of course, because the masters, Chicago themselves, I mean, they were just a wonderful band. You had everything in there. You had trumpets going, the bass, the lead, rhythm, drums, everything. They just knew how to play very well together, piano. So we're going to be doing 25 or 624. And I could never get that. Here, I could never remember the song or how to. I would just be like, what's that Chicago song with the numbers? Because for some reason, my mind just couldn't, get past the formula of it all. 25 or 624. I just couldn't, no way. What's the number song from Chicago? Well, looking at the, of course, information that's made available in regards to the song and its lyrics and everything, I just kind of stuck in my mind, repeating it. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah. And of course, I'm listening to the song numerous times before I go live and stream this information with you. But it's all good, man. Hey, listen, Stefan Maya is my name. As you see over there, addedsouls.com is my website. Friends, please listen. You can certainly sign up to my freedom community, if you will, or whatever you want to call it. My community over at addedsouls.locals.com. It's free to sign up, but you can support the work over there. There's also a PayPal option, my email address, addedsouls@gmail.com. I labor alongside the East Coast Church of Christ over here on the East Coast of Canada. You can check out the .com, eastcoastchurchofchrist.com. We do have a Facebook page, East Coast Church of Christ. I do encourage you to check that out and see what we're all about. It's a wonderful, wonderful work, a healthy and growing work. You can see also all the locations and platforms that we stream, we create, YouTube, X, formerly known as Twitter, Substack, Locals, Rumble, Facebook, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, Google, Patreon, and various other locations. Check it out. Look at the itinerary. We go live from Monday to Friday. Well, on Monday, we upload, if you will, and we go live from Tuesday to Friday, 10 a.m. Atlantic Daylight Time. Look at the itinerary. You might find some interesting stuff there that you would like to look at. Is that okay? So, Chicago is the song we are analyzing. Well, Chicago's the band. And the song we're analyzing from Chicago is 25464. And we're going to look at some information over at songfacts.com. Our friends over there, they have some wonderful lyrics in regards to why it was written, who wrote it, and what's going on with it all. Context is important. We human beings, we tend to like to read something or listen to something and formulate our own interpretive dilemma. And, it's always according to our own experience in life and emotion. A lot of the songs we cling to and have a strong connection with is typically because it sings something, it has a sound, it has a charm, an enchantment to it that is, it's something familiar to us. It has nostalgia, obviously, at this point, and it has perhaps an experience, a moment in your life. It captured a timeline in your history, and you stick with it. You're like, yeah, but you interpret it to your own lifestyle. Something happened, maybe a girl, maybe a boy, maybe bad, maybe good, maybe this, maybe that, and you cling to it and you interpret it that way. And most of these artists, of course, that create these songs, they have a context. They wrote it for a reason. There was something in their minds. Could have been a whole bunch of drugs and alcohol, but it could have been also poetry or experience also, or perhaps voicing out something sociopolitically, whatever the case may be. They have a purpose and context to their song, and we can know that, respect that, and take from it what we want in our lives, if you will. But many times we just completely go upside down with what the song really means. For instance, if you look at my archived videos in regards to our Tuesday, analyzing the lyric, well, I purposely went and analyzed some songs that, they're taboo. You can't listen to them. They're evil. Some songs like AC/DC's Highway to Hell. Well, you should go check out what those lyrics actually mean and what the band was actually going through in order to write those lyrics. Now, are they playing a bit of trickiness on us? Well, yeah, they're playing the verbal assault on a great many things, but you should check that out. Why? Because you don't need to be afraid of it. As Christians, we don't need to fear those things anymore. Really. We don't live there anymore. We don't do those things anymore. We don't live like the world and stuff like that, so we don't need to truly fear it. We can recognize the entertainment value of it, perhaps, or where we are at as youth, and the things perhaps our children have been listening to or we've been listening to. There's value to analyzing the lyric, and it's quite unique, and, well, that's why I do it. I was a music lover in my past life. I loved it to the core, and now as a Christian, I don't love music anymore. I like it very much, but there was no one from a Christian perspective, if you will, to recognize the youth. It was mostly just, it's the devil's music, burn it all, burn it, get rid of it, burn it, it's evil, it's evil. And I'm like, what are they? I mean, I don't know, man. I listen to this music all the time. So, kind of that edge to it. How do you bridge the gap? How do you reach the youth listening to music? Now, is there music out there that is full on filth and garbage and has no soul to it at all, has no talent, it's just mess and filth and nonsense? Well, yeah, you can obviously, there is a boundary somewhere, and there is matters of conscience and scruple and opinion in all these conversations, but ultimately, we want to just look at the lyric, and we want to learn what was taking place and why they wrote it and what does it mean, if you will. Anyways, blah, 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 all that stuff. Our friends over at songfacts.com, they, of course, have an article on what it means. Why 25 or 624? Why did Chicago do that in 1970? What's taking place here? Well, as I'm reading from the article here. It says, this was written by Robert Lamb, who is a keyboard player and singer for Chicago. It's about trying to write a song with the title referring to the time of day. Would you know it? It's not some kind of the occult and Satanism with numbers or anything. It's not some kind of a mystery. You have to decipher the the coordinates of the universe. They got into that, while dropping LSD or something. No, it has to do, of course, with the time of day. And it would make sense. Everything's practical. I mean, there's nothing outside the realm of nature here, okay? With the title referring to the time of day, either being 3:35 a.m., which would be 25 to 4. You see how that works? Or 3:34 a.m., which would be 26 to 4. Now, Lamb explained on the Chris Isaak Hour, quoting, I was living with a bunch of hippies up above Sunset Strip. Now, does anything else need to be said here? For some of us 70s kids, um, we may have lived enough life, of course, to recognize the context and the scene here taking place in 1970 Sunset Strip as everyone's just getting high and, expanding our thoughts to the outer, the outer realms and all that kind of stuff taking place. And music was so close, art, and cinema, all these things, the entertainment world is very close entwined to this. Let's set our minds to the wave of today's rebellion, if you will. So yeah, he says, I was living with a bunch of hippies up above Sunset Strip. You can just imagine what's taking place there. One of the advantages of this particular house, he says, was that it was in the Hollywood Hills, and I could look out over the city late at night. Where was he now? With Manson somewheres? I don't know. But obviously a beautiful location where you could soak in the meditative state of your being as you are floating high in the sky there somewheres, with Lucy. Well, I wanted to try to describe the process, he says, of writing the song that I was writing. Imagine that. The interwoven tentacles of neurology, you're just up there in the state of LSD and intoxicants of every formula. And, the pharmakia is full on. And you think, let's write a song about writing a song. It's almost how Seinfeld was created. Let's make a show about nothing. Let's write a song about writing a song. Yeah, dude. Well, these things, as simple as they may sound, have profound providential pathogens. And here it is. This is what he's thinking, and so let's go for it, right? It's 3:34 or 3:35 a.m. in the morning. Is it the witching hour? I don't know. It's a.m. It's on Sunset Strip. It's in the 70s, and we're all a bunch of hippies high on dope. And yeah, let's do that, Let's write a song about writing a song. I find that quite humorous, of course, to the end. But so he says, waiting for the break of day, searching for something to say, flashing lights against the sky, there was a neon sign across the city. That song came from the fact that it was 25 or 6 to 4 a.m. In the morning, when I looked at my watch, I was looking for a line to finish the chorus. This is how this came to be. Dun, 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 dun. Now, all of that musical mastery was forged in the studio by the collective group together, which made the magic, of course, which put it all together. And he's going to continue saying those things. Most songs that were written, quoting now again from the article over at songfacts.com, especially in the early days, whenever I got them to the band and we started rehearsing them, that's when the songs took shape. Once these guys got hold of them. And I find that quite respectful. He could have been like, it's all me. I mean, he did write, and that's a powerful part, the poetry of it all. But he knows you got yourself a team here of musicians, and once you start to enter in the emotional sound to it, man, that's when you start to really take hold of what you got. It's like, man, this is something, isn't it? This is pretty cool. And so he says there was definitely a lot of raw material. I thought it was a song when I wrote the words down. I wrote the changes down and I brought the charts to rehearsal, but it was really a song, and it wasn't really a song until they all played it. And there are a lot of unsubstantiated rumors regarding the meaning behind this song's lyric. The article continues, of course, speaking of a popular rumor is that 6 to 4 was a nickname for LSD, because if you dropped acid at 6 p.m., the effects of the drug would wear off by 4 a.m., so they're in 10 hours later, right? Maybe that's what it meant. And again, we tend to jump to those conclusions. And were they the recipients of the narcotic world, and were they digesting and experiencing things? Well, yeah, obviously they were. And I know what LSD feels like. When my youth, we had the whole LSD wave coming too, and I got involved with that, and I got experienced, as Jimi Hendrix would so say. It's a powerful experience, man. It really captivates you, man. It brings you to another world, truly a different dimension in the mind, of course. But it's a memorable one, and that ain't one we mess around with anymore, is it? As Christians, man, sobriety is the way to go, and there's a reason for that. All of these moments that we took and experienced drugs of all colors and shapes and all of that, though we experienced the quote unquote beauty of it, the masquerade, the deception, it was short lived. After a while, the years pass by and you start to see the destruction of it. You start to see the separation of reality. You start to recognize that, man, this is just destroying our lives. Okay. But before that moment where we actually smartened up, we're like, oh, I don't think we should be doing this. Sadly, only a very small minority of us do that. Like, hey, I don't think this is the way we should keep living. But we've experienced that whole wave, and dude, I have some of those scars that'll never leave my mind while I'm on this earth. They just never will. They were some of the most deep, memorable experiences. There's no way to verbally express it. You have to kind of go through it, and I don't want any of you to go through it, because then you'll be left with these familiar memories and scars and nightmares. But they did that stuff, and many of us and many of them in the entertainment world, to expand or what we thought was expanding our ability to write and to perform and to practice and these things, we had a lot to do with drugs. And so a great many times when we hear a song like that, we're like, oh, it must be drugs, the Beatles, Lucy in the Sky all over again. It has to do with drugs. Well, there was certainly an element of it in part, right? It's kind of like, does the culture create and then the drugs come in, or does the drug push the culture? Who knows? A bit of give and take, I suppose, together. But the drugs certainly had a lot to do with it. If you're at 3:34 a.m. on Sunset Strip in the 70s and you got a head full of acid and you're trying to write a song and you're telling yourself, I'm going to write a song about writing a song, chances are what you're going to write, of course, is fueled by by the drug from one angle to the next, from one measurement or not. There's something involved in there. So, of course, those are rumors that swirl around the song, but he says it has nothing to do with that. Peter Cetera sang lead on this track despite his jaw being wired shut. That's kind of an interesting trivia to the musician here and to the band in regards to that song. It says, I keep reading here from Song Facts, despite his jaw being wired shut, he sang this song a few months before the recording session. Okay, listen to this. This is pretty good. The band went to a baseball game at Dodger Stadium, where their hometown team, okay, the Chicago Cubs, beat the Dodgers, leaving 4 Marines angry and ready to take their aggression out on someone. And that someone was Cetera. Is it Cetera? Cetera, I think, right? Cetera. Okay. Who was singled out by his long hair as much as his team loyalty, Long-haired, freaky people getting out of sight. Well, that's the perfect target right there if you're a Marine. Like, look at the hippie. Let's hurt the hippie. The ensuing brawl sent him to intensive care with a jaw broken in 3 places. So it wasn't just like, hey, let's be men and roughhouse here. I mean, they almost tried to kill the guy, I think. Your jaw's broken at 3 places. That might, I don't know, man. That could be a knee. That could be a foot. A sneaker, a shoe, a boot, I don't know, something. A boot, know what I'm talking about? Well, when it came time to record the song, his jaw was still wired shut. Quoting now, he had to learn to sing differently. Producer James Garcio told Mix Magazine, quoting, I told him, I can't wait. We're going to do this. It needs to be done. So you're going to have to learn how to sing this with a wired mouth there, broken mouth. So Cetera did his vocal through clenched teeth. Imagine trying to sing like that. You got your teeth wired. Hey, man, how do you get it? 25 or 6 2 4. But of course, it became the signature sound. It's almost like Bachman Turner Overdrive singer, right? Stuttering, but it became the staple. It became the thing, and we enjoy the song. You ain't seen nothing yet. Well, Cetera did his vocals through clenched teeth, which he adapted or adopted as a trademark singing style. After he left the band in 1985, his replacement, Jason Chef, took over vocal duties on this song. And the article continues over at songfacts.com in regards to all that kind of stuff. So the lyric itself now, if we put the lyric on the screen and we go through it, you and I, let's see here what they're talking about. Let's see what they're talking about. 25 or 624, Chicago's song in the 1970. It's waiting for the break of day. Remember where he's at. It's 3:34 or 3:35 a.m. on Sunset Strip in 1970 among hippies. Like, you got it. I obviously don't want you to go do drugs to know exactly what's going on here, but I think you can, if you've lived life long enough, you've been on this earth, and you've seen stuff out there, you probably get an image of where they're at a little bit in this circle, okay? Now, this is a different circle. It's a different era. It's a different time. It's not like today's world. Today's world, the kids, you can't. Dude, they're on, I don't know what they're on. Fentanyl? I don't know, man. It's just not the same thing. We used to smoke pot, drink beer, and drop acid. Magic mushrooms. What else? Yeah. It's drugs, but in today's world, man, it's like, I don't know, hard liquor and fentanyl? I don't know, man. They can't function. I don't know. We couldn't either. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but the drugs are different. And because the drugs are different, the youth are different. Okay, so 25 or 624 says, waiting for the break of day. Well, it's 3:34 a.m., it's 3:35 a.m., searching for something to say. Here I am, I got to write a song. I'm tripping. I'm flipping out, man. Flashing lights against the sky. Giving up, I close my eyes. It's a song about writing a song. At 3:30 a.m. on the Sunset Strip. In 1970. Waiting for the break of day, searching for something to say, flashing lights against the sky, giving up, I close my eyes. Ding, 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 ding. It's the experience. It's where he's at the very moment. It's the current event. He's soaking in the experience. He's trying to write a song, so why not write about it? I'm trying to write a song. Here's what's going on. It's the middle of the night. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to close my eyes. Sitting cross-legged on the floor, 25 or 624. Geographical location, my bodily posture. I'm high out of my mind. I'm floating about. And it must be, I don't know, 25 or 6 to 4. Something like that. It's early, man. Look at the lights in the sky. Staring blindly into space. Getting up to splash my face. Oh, yeah. We used to, we'd have parties. And we'd lay out in the tall grass. In the summer nights. And have a head full of acid. And you could just see the stars dancing. You could see the moon speaking. It's just a strange outer body trip. I don't know. And he's like, whoa, man. I think I've left for the Starship Enterprise. I need to come back. Beam me down to Earth again, please. It comes in waves. So he's waving. He's tripping. Staring blindly into space, getting up to splash my face. You know, that seems to be the remedy for all of us who've, again, if you've ever been snared in drugs and stuff like that. I mean, I'm tripping. What's the remedy? Go to the washroom, go to the sink, get some water, splash your face, sober up. Like, okay, take a break, man. You're flipping out. So he just wants to stay awake, wondering how much I can take. How deep does this rabbit hole go? That's what he's talking about. That's what he's talking about. It's the trip. He's in his own mind. He has to write a song, so he's writing about writing the song, and he's experiencing this moment. And I can read these lyrics, and I know exactly what, I know what this feels like. Staring blindly into space, getting up to splash my face, wanting just to stay awake, wondering how much I can take. We used to trip like that. How old are we? 17, 18, 19, 20. We never stopped. I stopped, I think I was 32. That's when I'm like, yeah, there has to be something else in life. What about this guy named Jesus? Mom and Dad bought me a Bible once. Slang around somewheres. There has to be more to life. I've experienced everything it had to give me. There has to be something else. Staring blindly into space, getting up to splash my face, wanting just to stay awake, wondering how much I can take. The intense trip of it all, right? Should I try to do some more? 25 or 6 to 4. Oh, yeah. No, don't, man. Don't take any more. Don't take any more, dude. Yeah, no. Because if you go too far, and I've seen it, if you go too far, you take too much. You took too much, man. You took too much. Johnny Depp. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. You took too much, man. The adrenochrome. You took too much. Flipping out, taking a bad trip. Don't take any more. I've seen folks, man. I've seen it. They've taken too much and never come back. They really don't come back. It's done. The damage is too much. So they swirl around the rest of their lives, just being like, drooling somewheres, in a straitjacket, having to take all kinds of pills. All kinds of pills that give us all kinds of thrills. But the thrill we've ever known is the thrill that'll get you when you get your picture on the cover of the Rolling Stones. Rolling Stones. So staring blindly into space, getting up to splash my face, wanting just to stay awake, wondering how much I can take. Should I try to do some more? 25 or 6 to 4. Now, the lyrics are quite simplistic. It's not some kind of poetic masterpiece, if you will. But the composition and the bringing, the producing, and the musicians, and the song as it is, it's a 5-minute song. Everything in there, it takes this short little lyric, these things that were going on in the mind of Robert at 3:35 a.m. on Sunset Strip. It takes this and it just makes it into this beautiful body of work, which, again, he knows that, and he said that. He's like, it really did its thing when I brought it to the guys, and we all, sprinkled our mojo on it there, and it became this beautiful song that we all now hear and recognize. Feeling like I ought to sleep, spinning room is sinking deep, searching for something to say, waiting for the break of day. Yeah, man, I've had enough of this trip, dude. I'm splashing my face. I'm tired, but I'm not. Should I do some more? I don't think so. I mean, I can't. And there it is. His trip is captured forever right there in a song that will last for as long as this earth goes on, I suppose, and we're permitted to have music. 25 or 6 to 4. 25 or 6 to 4. And that is the lyric to Chicago's 25 or 6 to 4. And what it means and what it meant and how it captured an era and a culture in that geographical location, the Western world, the independence of the U.S., where freedom and privilege was permissible because we recognized a great many things back then. And sadly, we flushed it all away, but not before tripping a whole bunch, didn't we? And that's what Chicago did. I mean, I've watched a lot of their documentaries, interviews, and very interesting band, very interesting individuals. And, like the Eagles and every other band that we could start, name dropping, many of them, if not most, they all tripped on stuff, and they wrote about stuff, and it was their moment, their time. The music I wrote in my time and the things I said were, again, part of the life we were living and the entourage we had and the things we were experiencing, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But through the lens of an individual who now follows the Christ and who has gone away from those elements I don't fear it anymore. I, I know what it is. I can analyze it, and I can share thoughts about that, which of course makes us approachable, and it allows us to have common ground with individuals who understand this kind of content, this kind of material. So please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, drop a comment, and if you are so inclined, willing and able, support the work. It helps put food on the table for me, and it motivates me to keep going with this kind of stuff, to grow the studio, grow the content, all that kind of wonderful stuff. So that'll bring us to a close in regards to this analyzing the lyric themed session. And I do hope you found some value to it, or some interest, if anything, perhaps some trivia things, like interesting things or whatnot. But I think if we are level and reasonable, fair with our assessments, there is things that are quite interesting, really, to see out there and to open up. And now, of course, recognize who we are as Christians. And we no longer drop LSD. We don't do those things anymore. We don't live the way the world lives. But we can bridge that gap. There is a sad ending to all of these lifestyles out there in the world. The secular haze. It creates, in the realm of the music industry, the realm of writers and poets and producers and performers and things like that. The reason some things are written and performed and practiced and are so memorable and will remain in the canals of our thoughts for as long as we live on this earth is because they came at the hand of sorrow and pain. It has a wisdom, and it speaks a life experience, but it always ends in devastation. It does. It ends with a lot of pain. So that's the cost, really. We keep saying, oh, these artists, they've sold their soul to the devil. Well, that's not necessarily physically or literally true to that accord. I mean, yes, they sell their soul, meaning they've given their lives and their eternal consequence to the hands of fame and and riches and fame and that kind of stuff. But to write the things they've written and to have those available came at a cost. They had to lose something. Yes, they lost their soul, but they lost a lot more than that. I know it. I know what it's about. You have to give something of self in order to receive what the world has to offer. Now, here's the beauty. In Christ, with the Christian principle, Christ gave himself for you and I. The sacrifice was given. Now, do you and I have to give up things? Must we sacrifice as well? Must we let go things to follow the Christ? Well, yeah, absolutely. He did walk this earth proclaiming change. It's necessary. It's not a suggestion like, hey, if you want to change, it's fine. No, you must change in order to follow me faithfully. So we got to let all those things go. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, it's got to go. Hedonism, paganism, all sorts of denominational worldviews and doctrines, practices, shrines, traditions, whatever. We have to let all of that go. We have to let go of self. But the beauty of the Christ sacrificing for us is we no longer need to deteriorate in how should I say? We don't need to deteriorate into death. We can now build up and uplift into life. It's a better way of life. I know it just is. But yeah, some of that stuff for what it's worth. So again, guys, stay focused, stay positive. I appreciate you all a great deal. And Lord willing, tomorrow we will be going live 10 a.m. Atlantic Daylight Time for our midweek studies. And we've been in Exodus. And man, I'm not telling you, it's been pretty cool. It's an awesome journey in the inspired text, witnessed and recorded. So maybe you want to join us. By all means, your invite is there. We'll be live tomorrow at 10 a.m., Lord willing, and we'll have ourselves a midweek study in the book of Exodus. Good stuff. All right, man. Talk to you later. Peace out.